This video was brought to you by CuriosityStream. Since Ukraine's lightning-fast offensive in Kharkiv a couple of weeks ago, things have quietened down a bit on the battlefield. The front lines in both the south and the east have essentially stabilised, and Russian forces are increasingly taking up defensive as opposed to offensive positions while they wait for their conscripts to arrive. However, in the last couple of days, it looks like the Ukrainians have made even more progress in the east around northern Donetsk, encircling one of the major Russian holdouts in the area. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the most recent developments on the ground, the future trajectory of the war, and why the next couple of months mark a window of real opportunity for both Ukraine and its Western supporters. So, let's start by taking a look at what's happened on the ground. As I mentioned in the intro, not that much has changed since the Kharkiv offensive. In the south, Ukrainian forces are still making attritional progress towards Kherson. They successfully crossed the Inhalets River in Bezemen just a couple of weeks ago, and are now apparently moving towards the town of Kokalev, which is just 30 kilometers away from Novokakova, one of the two crossing points for Russian soldiers west of the Dnipro River in Kherson city. In the east, the front lines have essentially stabilised along the river in Kharkiv, as well as the Seversky River in Luhansk, since Ukraine's rapid offensive a couple of weeks ago. However, in the past couple of days, Ukrainian forces have all of a sudden made significant progress along the Seversky Donets. Since the Ukrainian counteroffensive, the bulk of Russian forces along the Seversky Donetsk have been stationed in Lyman, a small city with a pre-war population of about 25,000 people. Now, Lyman only has 3 roads running in and out of it, which is why, instead of attacking the city directly, Ukrainian forces have been slowly but steadily encircling it, moving southeast from Lviv and northwest from Bilohorivka. And this advance apparently accelerated on Thursday evening and Friday morning, with multiple reports that Ukrainian forces had captured 2 areas, which both lie just a few kilometers away from Lyman. This means that the roughly 5,000 Russian troops stationed in the city have only one road out, and it's within firing range of Ukrainian artillery. Now, there are still some Russian forces in 2 other towns, resisting the complete encirclement, but even pro-Russian telegram channels were sounding pessimistic by Friday morning. And the collapse of Lyman would obviously be pretty terrible news for the Russians in its own right, because, well, 5,000 troops is not an insignificant number, and Russian morale is already pretty low. But the timing is particularly tough for Putin, given that it overshadows his announcement regarding the annexation of 4 oblasts in Ukraine on Friday. Now, while we're talking about things not going well for Putin, it's also worth mentioning that on Thursday, he had to apologise to the Russian public for, quote, mistakes in the partial mobilisation, including the conscription of old men and people with no combat experience. Now, this apology came after direct criticism from the head of Dagestan, who complained that conscription officers were telling literally every man in certain Dagestani cities that they were being conscripted. Nonetheless, while things clearly aren't going well for Putin, the partial mobilisation should improve the Russian army's fortunes in the next few months. An extra 300,000 men, even if they're useless in combat, will at least buy them some time to recover their better trained units. This is why Ukraine and the West have a rare window of opportunity in the next few months before the new conscripts actually arrive. To take advantage of this, the most obvious thing the West need to do is send more military tech to Ukraine. And there are basically 3 things that the Ukrainians need at the moment. Firstly, longer-range missile systems to counteract Russian artillery and put pressure on Russian positions deeper behind enemy lines. Secondly, the Ukrainians need air defense systems, because while the Russian Air Force has been conspicuously absent so far in this conflict, in the last couple of weeks, Russian forces have been relying increasingly on drones, most notably on Iranian-made drones. And these have wreaked havoc across Ukrainian armour and artillery, because as things stand, the Ukrainians don't really have anything to counteract them, especially when they're sent in swarms. Now, this shouldn't be a problem in the long term. The fact that Russia is relying on Iran for drones implies that they don't have the domestic manufacturing capability, and there have been reports that the Iranians themselves have been running out of the required components needed to make them, thanks to sanctions in place. Nonetheless, the Ukrainians still need something soon if they want to take advantage of the coming window of opportunity. And while the US doesn't really have any appropriate tech, fortunately for Ukraine, there have already been reports that Israel, which has some of the best anti-drone technology out there, is planning to send the relevant systems to Ukraine. And the third and final thing that Ukraine needs is more assistance when it comes to the training of soldiers. While they won't be able to match Russia on the numbers, Ukraine still has plenty of willing troops. As things stand, only the UK has a significant training program in place for Ukrainians. But if this was expanded, Ukraine could bulk up its army and improve the quality of its soldiers before Putin's new conscripts even hit the ground. You get the idea then. The Ukrainians have a rare window of opportunity in the next few months before these new conscripts arrive. And if the West wants to help them win, it'll be in their best interest to accelerate their support in the coming weeks. And this seems to be the thinking in Washington too. The US is currently preparing its largest single support package yet, worth $12 billion US, including 18 more HIMARS systems which are going to be manufactured over the next 2 years. And this is perhaps more hawkish than any previous package. It means that the US isn't just sending pre-existing stock, but actively manufacturing new tech in order to give it to Ukraine. So it looks like they're still enthusiastic about Ukraine. And if that's true, it'll be in the best interest of the entirety of the West to follow America's lead here. Is if the West can act fast enough, and if they can beat Putin to the punch. Either way, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, if you're looking for some more uplifting and fun content, unfortunately, we have a bunch of that too.
Like our team attempting the British citizenship test.
I just don't care. This sort of stuff is so it's completely irrelevant.
Ellen MacArthur.
I'm going to go with Francis Drake.
MacArthur.
Dame Ellen MacArthur.
Francis Drake, but I mean the answer is true, isn't it? But it's just not true.
Who knows that? Who actually knows that?
Our blooper reel, our office tour, and our interview with TV expert Scott Bryan about why Piers Morgan and Talk TV are failing. Now, all of these videos are exclusive to the streaming service that we made with our creator friends, Nebula. Now, don't worry, I know that times are really tough at the moment, and that's why it's good news that Nebula is only about $1 a month if you sign up using the Nebula Curiosity Stream bundle. Here's how it works. We reached out to the good chaps at Curiosity Stream and said, hey, you have a superb streaming service full of some of the most high-quality documentaries available online. They emailed back saying, you mean highest quality, but sure. Now, I don't always appreciate pedantry like this, but they're right, we should have said highest, and they put forward an offer that we couldn't refuse. They said that anyone who signed up to their streaming service using this link, it's in the description, don't worry, will get access to Nebula absolutely free. Now, I like free things, so we said yes. So if you click the link below, you'll pay less than $15 a year for Curiosity Stream and all of the extra TLDR stuff on Nebula. That's just over $1 a month. So get yourself exclusive TLDR videos that will never come to YouTube. All of our videos ad-free, and some of our videos earlier than they come to YouTube by signing up now. For legal reasons, this exchange is entirely fictionalized, and honestly, I don't know how the deal was done. I'm not a legal kind of guy, so I wasn't in the room when it happened anyway. Also, just because I made this up doesn't mean that the rest of the stuff in this video wasn't true. Everything else I say is always 100% accurate, okay? Regardless, you should sign up.